And I am extremely positive about the future of America because of, I believe that the fact that we're an immigrant country and that we continue to have and make use of our immigrant, and today more than ever with Hispanic immigrants, Oriental immigrants, that we are constantly refreshed by these cultures that ultimately come here and have their dream for a better life, but ultimately transform America. So I think that's what makes America still the most exciting country in the world, that we are the only country that is an immigrant country, and that we're not any real. And now more than ever, I understand that just recently the name Gonzalez is the third most, and Rodriguez beats out Turner.
Yeah.
So we're constantly being remade. So I have this childlike belief that we're the good guys, but the reality of our behavior, not only recently, but through the Cold War and what we've done, again, hypocrisy in the name of doing good in Latin America and Guatemala and all over the world is very disconcerting. And my feeling is, God, like whoever's going to win this presidential election is, the problems that we have today are not going to be settled by this administration. They're going to be this next one. So hopefully we're going to have some people in that and make good decisions and not attached to ideology. Oh, well, this would be a good solution, but we can't do that because our constituency is against that. So even now in my heart, I really want to see an independent be the president. And I'm very negative towards this idea of all these campaign contributions. I don't believe that millions of dollars are given to candidates that are not called back. In the state of California, I saw, and oddly enough, it was the Democrats, what that whole system of donating money for election does, and famously the Gallo family got from the state of California, through its generosity with the party, basically a one-day reprieve that the Gallo, when Ernesto died, none of the billions of dollars would be taxed as a state tax, and it's known as the Gallo law. And that's, to me, our tax law, riddled with all kinds of loopholes, all comes from this tradition of campaign financing and stuff. And I would have to say, in answer to your question, which I realize I haven't answered, I feel more harsh towards the practices that are accepted, and I would love to see a political system where we can attract talented people that we have in such number to come in and be involved in these in political leadership.
Actually, just a side note there. Is it harder to function in the wine business than it was in the film business? Is it harder to break in? Is it more honest? Is it less honest?
My timing was pretty incredible. I fell in love with the cinema in the 50s and the 60s, and there wasn't, like in college when I was a drama major, I started the Hofstra Cinema Workshop. 3 people came. There wasn't this fascination for the movies, and then suddenly I go to film school and and then all around me everyone's interested in cinema, and you go out, young people on dates are meeting each other, like, what did you think of The Graduate? And you realize that suddenly there are programs about movies, and you could see in the magazines and the television special shows, and I realized that the movies were a hit with the young people of my generation, and suddenly everyone was talking about it, and fortunes were being made by critics, and the phenomenon of these things. Then I went off in the wine business, and I bought this gargantuan estate in the Napa Valley for the price of what a house in Beverly Hills would have cost, 2,000 acres of Rutherford. And suddenly all around me, everyone's talking about the health benefit of wine, and people are drinking wine, and whereas everybody in the Midwest was drinking beer with their meals, now you go and they're all drinking wine, and suddenly the wine business is just like what happened in the movie business. it's the business, and it was not anything other than, you know, being Italian American. My family drank wine, and there was something romantic about living in vineyards. So I just lucked out, and suddenly now, the wine consumption, I don't know what the statistic, but it's gone from like 6% of the population is drinking wine to, well, 8.5%, but 8.5% of a population of this size. I mean, there aren't enough grapes for it to go up much more. So the wine business is, do you know the statistic, Kathleen?
No, I just know that for the last 2 years, wine consumption has outpaced beer.
Yeah. So that then I just go to have a little dumb hideaway in Belize because I sort of enjoyed being in the Philippines making Apocalypse Now, and I wanted to have like a thing. I had little boys, and so I go to Belize and I buy this $40,000 place where there's no electricity, no nothing, and stuff. And then my wife wants me to get rid of it, but I have to hire someone to take care of it because it's so remote and has to be a resort. And the next thing, I'm in the resort business, and suddenly the travel business is the hottest thing on earth. The travel business seems to have exploded too. So I don't know what to say. It's not that I'm smart. I think what it is that I sort of follow my heart, and I get involved in things that I like or I love, and then other people, the timing is similar, so they love it too. And I became, oddly enough, very wealthy in things that I in a million years wouldn't have thought I'd ever be involved in.
This is all because you were born in 1939. I got a brother who was born in 1939. The guy stumbles into the closet, and it turns out...
Is that the year that does it, or is it the...
It's good vintage.
It's 1939. It's all you guys who showed up in 39, you always get to everything first. Period.
Ah, that's what it is. Is that
Period.
we're there a few years early?
You showed up in April. He showed up and he showed up on September 1st. Congratulations, Mrs. Jacobson. You have a son, and Hitler invaded Poland. But that didn't matter because no matter what he does, he was there first.
What year were you born in?
49, 10 years ago.
Oh, so you're the 10 year.
So yeah, we got Heim tip basically.
Yeah. Well, it must be that. But I mean, I have often thought about how this has happened to me, because what irony that I have this big success, I buy a Hollywood studio. I mean, I had my own 9 stages, and I go and I start making an electronica, and I was ahead of the game that time. And I do this fabulous fantasy of it, and I lose the shop.
Your shirt.
I make one from the heart. It's a disaster. I lose everything. Who would have thought in a million years that 10 years later I'd make a fortune in the wine business and I'd be back doing movies like Youth Without Youth, or what I'm doing now, self-financed again. So it's part luck, it's part being born in 1939.
Before, when you were talking a little bit about being upbeat about American immigration, etc., one of the projects you've wanted to get off the ground has been Megalopolis, famous, as you well know. And I think the concept there was that, from what I've read, is that there are relationships between Imperial Rome and America that are sort of inescapable, and that you felt like you wanted to explore that. Is that still true?
Well, yeah, that was the basis of the setting, was that I felt that America is the historical counterpart, ancient, or Republican Rome, I should say, because ancient Rome takes many years. But Republican Rome was kind of the historical counterpart of America. You know, it had the big Cold War, it defeated Carthage. It was, you know, they were the greatest engineers and road builders. Americans were talented, but in a way of practical talent, where the can-do Yankee ingenuity